Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This week it is, September 2nd already. Where did this year go? I am Todd McFarlane. I am the president and co-founder of the IHSA. And with me is Keith Kennedy.
Am I getting feedback of your thing through here? I have different tabs open. I have different tabs open. There we go. I'm going crazy. Hello.
Thanks for being again with me here, Keith. Keith is from Glenwood High School. And he's also one of our directors for IHSEA, helping us run the show over here. So we announced our games. We announced everything. We had our first meeting last week with our coaches, which is great. It went really well. We had about 20 something schools in there. Something like that. I think it was 25 maybe less. Either way, it went really well. Getting to meet everyone, see their faces, all the coaches, especially with esports, you don't always get to see the coaches. So sometimes it's not, you see their name online, you talk to them on Discord or, share emails, but then you don't actually get to see them in person. So we had
it's really funny to connect a face to a username.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you haven't seen them ever before and you're like, wait, that's who that is?
Yep.
Wait, you're a dude, not a girl?
Or reverse sometimes a lot.
Or the reverse. Like, wait, you're a girl? Yeah. No, that happened to me. In the beginning, one of our coaches, I was like, wait, you're a girl. I didn't realize that. So it's awesome to see the females out there. I'm actually, with bringing it up, I'm trying to find more females in the gaming industry so we can have a talk on here for that. So I actually just messaged someone earlier today. Don't know how it'll work, but that's what Twitter is for, is to reach out and see what happens.
So, yes, sending mass Twitter DMs, a thing I'm very familiar with.
Yes, yeah, I'm not as bad as I used to be. I used to send a whole bunch of them to schools and people and trying to get everything. And
a tip that I always give to coaches is, if you're serious about your program, just DM a bunch of colleges with esports programs in your area. I DM'd a bunch of schools in Illinois. And basically anyone I could find who was active on Twitter who had a varsity program is offering scholarships, like, hey, you want to come talk to my kids? And a lot of them were really interested. And I got, I think, 5 recruiter visits before we all got shut down last year.
Yeah, it's really good, especially when you're just reaching out to people in your area. Like, they don't realize that you're there and that you have kids that want to play. And, that you might not really think that they're, paying attention, but they do answer and they do respond because they want to talk to the kids, and the best way is to go through the coach. So
yeah.
Let me make this a little bigger. That's better. Yeah, so today, with that all being said, we want to talk a little bit about tryouts. It's going to be kind of crazy this year with tryouts, and that's kind of why I was like, well, let's start off this conversation and maybe even have another one next week about tryouts and see what everyone says, because I think it's kind of an issue with a lot of schools running into it, a lot of schools being new, not knowing what to do, and a lot of schools not knowing what to do because we're either remote or hybrid. It makes it a lot harder, or activities are canceled after school. So we wanted to talk about it a little bit here, and then also get your feedback on what you're doing, or if you have questions about how to run tryouts or things like that, feel free to ask in the chat, and we'll answer them as we go along.
Yeah.
Did you want to start talking about tryouts, or
let me make a note real quick, because I just thought of something I need to write down for school tomorrow.
Okay, no worries.
This is how I am all the time now.
Yeah, especially since you actually are sitting at your teacher's desk now. Oh wait, you're not. You have to go to school.
Nope, I remote teach from school.
Yes, that's right. I'm sitting at my school desk.
Which is my school desk. I have a full broadcast setup. So some things to talk about tryouts. Hi, Joanne. I see you again. You better be filling out that Google form right now. If I check in, you're not there. All my players. So some things about tryouts is, first and foremost, getting the word out there, interacting with your admin, and making sure that they know where to find your information when they can send things out. And I asked my admin for permission to send an all-student email, because normally the kids would find out through the announcements, but they're not really here anymore. So had to send an all-student email, and I've gotten a lot of good interest off that, like probably 15 emails from just brand new people who have questions, not even a countless number who don't. But from tryouts, biggest thing is just get them in the Discord. Once they're in your Discord, you can do so much more, but you got to get them in the Discord first.
Yeah, get them in Discord, or if you're using Google Classroom for school, whatever platform you may be using.
Yeah. So just get them in your mutual communication center zone thing and just get something out to them. But then per game, it depends on specialties and who knows what. There's a lot of info you need. And if you're so willing, I can show you my Google form for tryouts if you want, Todd. Or not tryouts, for like signups. And the info that I grab. Yes, no?
What was that? I didn't hear you. I turned the fan on, so
You want me to show my Google form for signups?
yeah. If you want to post a link in the chat,
or I'm gonna send it to you individually, so I don't have this come out there because I have to have only my players filling it out.
gotcha.
But there's the send version of it, so if you want to pop that on screen, I can talk about it.
Oh, you disappeared. Hang on.
That's an Aurelia splash art on your home screen. I can tell that.
Yeah, I have the league background, so it just rotates.
So like that is Frostblade Aurelia. I recognize that background.
Let me see. I'll rearrange this over here. Put this over here.
So I want to be upfront and say this is kind of a clunky way to do it because I didn't want to do multiple forms. So I just did one big one. And because I'm allowing students to play multiple games, I can't just say you skip to just this section.
There we go.
But I'm grabbing first name, last name, year in school because I want info just on basic info on the kids and their student email. I don't care about personal emails. I want student emails. It's things I can send to admin. It's how I can look up info on students with admin. And then I also grab games. So these are the games that we're offering this year. And because we're remote, I can't, like, for example, Overwatch, I normally would take console players and train them up. But since we're remote only this year, I can't do that because they got to play from home. And that's the biggest hazard when they play from home. I got to make sure they're on the right system.
Yeah, especially with Overwatch, you want to make sure that they're playing on PC. And like you said, you also don't want to have them buy a PC and have to play from home. And like if it was at school, you could have them buy it or play it at school if they had it, if they didn't have a PC at home, but that doesn't really work.
Yeah, and for Rocket League, like I had my guys buy or just get the copy on Steam so they could play it on the school PCs and then play at home. And then you just click random games, it doesn't matter. Just fill out bogus info, I don't really care, and then we can go to the next page.
It's my favorite thing to do. I do this all the time with my forms.
I forgot. Did I put verification email on there? I forgot. I don't know. Hey, there we go. So Overwatch, need a bunch of stuff. And Overwatch, I think I take the most info for that. Because I want just things where I can start making groups without needing to have like an interview with all the players.
Yeah.
So I grab their username and then current SR and highest SR. Sometimes kids lie about this. Sometimes they don't. Last year I had a kid say 4,400 and I went, no way. And then he showed me his 8 accounts. And I believed him. And then primary role and off role matter a lot. Primary role especially will tell you what they're most prevalent with, along with their 3 heroes for primary. Because it's really important to try to understand what the players are planning. Does skill matter if you're not super pro but you're a decent player? Depends on your team. I know some schools just take anyone they can get. I know that I'll take anyone I can get for a pretty good chunk. But as long as you're interested, most schools will have room for even if you're not super skilled, and they'll train you up. And then secondary role, I abuse a lot for Overwatch because I have, for some reason, like 18 billion main tanks and nothing else. So I had to like start shoving guys in random roles. And I didn't make any of this required because we're going to go going through all of it.
Yeah.
See, so let's go on to next.
Yeah, one thing that I did with mine is I made them pick which games, and then depending on what game they picked, it went to that game. And when they got done filling out the information, it actually bounced them back to the first page for them to pick another game again.
And that's something I need to work on because I don't have a ton of experience in Google Forms. So I may talk to you later about that.
And it's confusing for the students. You're like, I did it. I don't know what I have to do. And literally, one of the options says, when you're done, check this box, and then it enters it. But they never see that box. I literally have to explain.
Honestly, I'm just going to just have them run through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So next, I believe I have Rocket League. Hey, there we go. And so Rocket League, it's I check system, Rockout ID, highest 3v3 rank, and current 3v3 rank. That's about all we need, to be honest. We don't need a ton because Rocket League's very much a team-based game, so you got to start looking at how they mesh together.
Yeah.
So in tryouts, Rocket League tryouts are a bit weird because you have a very hard time gauging what they play like. So for tryouts, I would just randomly squad people up by rough skill and then see where they go from there.
Yeah, like Dancing with Narwhals says it matters a lot, a willingness to improve, and that's something that's really important because it's not a lot of the kids who are in esports just don't know how to play as a team and don't know how to talk to people and communicate because they're used to playing solo queue, and that's the big problem with a lot of esports players. So that's a good point. Is like they need to know a willingness to improve, take criticism, and like you said, be a positive communicator. And I think that's going to be one thing that's really hard for teams to do this year because unless we're in comms with all of our players at all times, we're not going to really know how to handle that. So definitely
can't be over their shoulder and telling them stuff and noticing more stuff in person. You got to be really focused on communication this year.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because we can't be behind them. Like with my teams, I'd be right behind them, coaching them during their practice sessions and telling them, "Hey, go ward that bush. Oh, hey, go roam this way." And you can't. It's a lot harder to do that now, especially if you're using spectator mode or things like that.
And then I placed an actual match. I'll talk about what trap process is like later. This is kind of just sign up stuff. Yeah. What info you need. Valorant, it's still developing, but Valorant ID or Riot ID, highest rank, current rank, top 3 agents in Valorant is really important because it tells you exactly what their playstyle is. It's a very strict agent meta, so you need to understand what they play. And that's what I like. That question I like a lot.
Yep.
What agent do you hate?
Yep.
Because it tells me what I can't force you on.
Yeah, especially because there's such a limited pool with Valorant right now. It's not as varied as it could be. So, what agent do you not want to play? Because if you need, you won't need I forgot her name.
I won't need a Sage anymore because she is in the dirt.
Yeah, so now you won't, if someone says, I don't ever want to play Sage, you're like, hey, that's fine because we're not playing that meta now. So.
And then map you like the most and least kind of tells you more info about you as a player and what I can look for. Smash, don't need a ton. Switch friend code. And then one thing that I would use is, I stole this from Coach McGee at Springfield. Are you interested in being a captain? Because for most of these games, I already have captains set from returning players. But for brand new games for me, like Smash and Fortnite, I got nothing. So I'm just grabbing players who are interested and then talking to them individually. Next one, I believe, is League.
League, yep.
There we go. So League, I'll speak to this. You need a lot of info. Same with Overwatch. You need highest rank, current rank, primary role, secondary role. I probably should also ask, are you willing to jungle? Because for some reason, no one wants to jungle.
It's one of the hardest roles.
I hate it. I hate it and I love it. So you gotta ask for mains and primary roles and stuff like that. And then the last one is Fortnite, which is also pretty short. Just platform, gamertag, and interest in being a captain. That captain thing I outright stole from Springfield. So I full credit to him. But need to make sure that we're actually working on that.
And this is your legal agreements and...
Yep. So I have a contract in there because I make my students... Normally I'd have them return the last sheet, but I can't really do that. So instead, I'm just going to have them do the thing, and then... Oh, crap. I got to make a new Discord link now.
For shame.
Going to change that form right now.
You're welcome.
Can you hide it now?
It's gone.
Well, I go change my Discord link from my team's Discord.
If you want that to be shared or you want to see it, DM him on Discord or shoot him a Twitter message if you want. I can also share mine if you guys want to. Mine, like I said, mine's a lot more complicated for students, but it makes it a lot easier for me because they only fill out what they need to, and that way it doesn't leave a lot of blank answers or people just filling in answers and then thinking they need it. So yeah, definitely just DM us and we can share what we have. His Twitter handle is right underneath his name there, so at Mr. Kennedy Math. Or you can just do the Glenwood. Is it Glenwood Esports?
Uh, yes, Glenwood Esports on Twitter. Excuse me while I go look for how to deactivate a link.
You just turn it off.
Where?
In the invites on your server settings.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so yeah, I do the same thing, have them fill out a form. We also have a meeting where I talk about like what it takes to be on the esports team, the fact that they have to be available for practice multiple days a week. The biggest thing about students is grades, making sure that they are aware that they are students first and athletes and esports athletes second.
And that's in my contract as well. And I will fully admit I stole that contract from Oswego from like 3 years ago. And I modified it a bunch to fit my own purposes.
Yeah, and then one of the other things I have my students do, I didn't have them do it last year, but I'm going to have them do it this year. Although if any of them are here, they wouldn't know about this yet. But they actually have to write up a summary, basically answering some questions about why they want to be on the team and why they would be, good for an esports team. Especially since we can't meet in person this year and I can't talk to people. It's kind of important to get that background because it might give you some of that emphasis of how they might react to certain things, or if someone just says because I'm the best, you might not want that kind of attitude on your team, or that might knock as a point against them, or at least make you aware of something that they're looking at. Whereas if they're looking for that positive communicator and being a leader, that might help too. So, yeah, I think that I stole from George Washington because they had that on their application too. So it's kind of cool to see that.
I'm sending an essay now. Yeah. I don't make them do quite that much. I talk more to the players in person normally. Well, not normally. So there's gonna be a lot of changes this year, especially for how this is all gonna look.
Yeah, and then this year it's going to be kind of crazy because it is remote. So we're trying to figure out how to manage a lot of these things. So,
and then people asking about how tryouts are supposed to work. It varies by game. Generally, group players play rough skill level in roughly fitting roles from their fill out form, and then throw them in a public match and watch. Don't say a word. Watch. You're not looking for how they play and if they slam. Looking for how they work as a group and their willingness to take feedback afterwards. If they're also a god, that's nice. But you're looking mostly at how they're improving after a match or how they reflect the match. You talk to them about their thoughts on the game. Because especially for League, over half the battle is just knowing the game and having a mind for it and being able to think on the fly. For other games, it's Juwan. I don't even have an ADC yet, buddy. We got to find one. I graduated my ADC last year, and my jungler, so I got to find the two hardest roles to fill. So just look at how they work as a group and how they're willing to work as a group. Because I know they're not going to necessarily have chemistry first practice. That takes time to build.
Yeah, that takes months of building usually.
Yep. But it's really important to look at how they start to build that and collaborate, and who takes on a natural leadership role. With Rocket League, for last year, I knew who I wanted as a leader and a vocal person right away.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the whole trial process is like, yeah, as long as the students have played ranked before and they play it like for real, usually you can find, guesstimate who will make your team. I mean, somebody like, who was it, Niles West, who had like 200 people.
Got a lot of sorting to do.
Right, a lot of sorting to do, and us being remote, it makes it a lot harder to do a lot of that because you can't hold like a 30-person tryout over a course of a weekend and have it be productive without them recording games and a whole bunch of stuff.
And if you can't be there to watch an in-person practice or in-person tryout, like certain games like Fortnite, I can't be there all their lobbies. So instead, I'm just going to have them send me stats and like a 4 game average, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can get, have someone send you replays or do things like that. And I think it's kind of important to, you know, have some kind of focus over it and also get students' opinions. Like maybe have them fill out a form after every game, like have them play a set amount of games with different people on each team and then have them, critique each player and kind of go from that and then find your leaders from there and see what they said about certain people. And I mean, it's a really hard thing, especially when you're first starting and you can't see these kids in person under any real circumstances besides like a Google Meet or something like that. It makes it really hard to assess the situation. And especially when you don't have full access to them, like you might want, to be able to watch other games or have them stream live and watch it that way. If you have Discord set up, they can stream through Discord, which would be nice, but some schools don't allow Discord, so it makes it a lot harder to do. And especially recruiting, like you said, in these early years. Like luckily I teach a mostly freshman class and my department teaches all freshmen, so I'm hitting up all of them to be like,
shameless plugs.
yeah, like, hey, I have this post, can you post this in your classroom, like, so that everyone can see it and if anyone's interested to do it. Because we had kids last year that didn't know that we had an Overwatch team and they're like 3,000 rank in or 3,000 SR in Overwatch, and they're like making funny videos, and I'm like, why aren't you on the Overwatch team? And they're like, well, I didn't even know we had one. So getting the word out, is great, but it also, making sure that you have the numbers you need. Like I graduated 2 of my league players last year, and I don't know if we're going to get everyone back this year or not. So
yep, same boat.
Some of the, as what usually happens with league, you play for a year or 2 and then you get burnt out because you've been playing for a year or 2 trying to grind, and
I'm burnt out and I haven't stopped yet.
You play normals, you don't count.
Oh, thanks, Todd.
You're welcome.
But another question we're seeing in chat is, will there be rank groupings for varsity and JV? We can't strictly enforce that because it's very hard to actually project a team's skill rating. And sometimes we only allow one varsity, so whoever's left is JV. Napier North, I'm looking at you. And so sometimes JVs are kind of stacked. Our general suggestion, at least I know in league, we have a good benchmark, is our cutoff for varsity should be gold average. And beyond that is varsity, and below that is JV. But because we're only allowing one varsity per school, whoever's left is the JV squad.
Yeah, and the nice thing, that's why we run JV like we do, where you can have multiple teams, as many as you want, is because you want kids to improve and you want them to be able to play at comparable skill level, which it is horrible if you have two full diamond teams and people are sitting on the bench and not playing, but that's just how it works sometimes, depending on your school. But it definitely is really interesting to figure out where people belong and like having that gold level. Like my team last year was probably low gold rating total. I had a couple silvers and then a couple golds and like 1 platinum. But they still played varsity and they got stomped most of the time. But it was a learning process. It was getting them to be better, having them have some confidence in themselves, and actually put themselves in the line. Because a lot of the kids who, I had 6 kids on my team. 5 of them had never played any kind of sport at Simons at all, or any high-end competition. And then I had 1 kid who was like, I think he played soccer, volleyball, swimming, so he did a bunch of stuff. But the rest of the other 5 had not played at that level. So,
and I had 3 brand new players and 2 returning JV players, so I made my squad a JV squad last year, and that's my only team. Yeah. So, Funky Soul in chat, we have 2 JV league teams. We have the same subs in both teams. Our only rule is a sub cannot play on more than 1 team in the same week. So if you have a bench made up of what would have been your 3rd team, that's fine. It's just 1 player cannot play on 2 rosters in the same week. Also, varsity players cannot play down. That's not applicable in your case, but there's been issues in the past of someone benching a varsity player and bringing in a JV guy and having the varsity guy play down to JV. Varsity can't play down, JV can play up.
Yeah, and so we're I believe, depending on what it is for. So for League, that'll probably be the case. I think Overwatch, the rosters are set weekly, and you might be able to flex them in and out. because with NASEF you have to have the rosters locked, I think 8 days before the game. So you possibly can pull someone off and put someone on a different team and like that, but the rosters are locked essentially a week before. Double check the rules on that because I don't know if that changed this year or not, but I think that's what we're doing. But yeah, we encourage, especially with JV teams, we want them to play as much as possible and play together as much as possible because it makes them better.
It's a development league.
Yeah. And that's what we strive for, is to get them to just try to get better. Like my jungler from last year really struggled with playing at a higher level, although I believe he's at least gold level, possibly even low plat if he actually put his work into it. But he just didn't want to play the ranked grind because he was afraid of demoting even farther down. And I'm like, the way you play much better than where you're at, but he was just afraid. And so
ranked in league isn't fun though.
Yeah. Speak for yourself. I'm platinum, sir.
Is it fun?
Once you get, well, it depends on what level. Like gold 1.
Okay, so you're saying depend. Is it fun, Todd?
Yes. Gold 1 is horrible. Plat 4 is horrible. In between, once you get to the 1s, it's pretty horrible. But everywhere else is okay. Yeah, 4 bronze players going against diamonds and JV. It's unfortunate, but it's not like you can have, if you can do it, you can't sport 2 varsity football teams at a school. So I got beat up plenty of times in JV football by teams that were much better than us and probably could beat our varsity team.
So yeah, our tryouts are different per game, and it's best to talk with your players and see what it should look like. So I know for like Smash Smash is weird. I don't know how I'm doing that, but Fortnite is very individualistic, so you have to look at individual play. Whereas things like Valorant, solo queue and 5 stacking is 100% different. And so you talk to your players who are interested, and they'll help you figure out what it should look like.
Dancing with Narwhals asked how common are scrims in high school esports. They're actually really common, depending on how friendly the teams get. Like probably not last year, but the year before, we had a good cluster of kids who were all friends and who all communicated all the time and were scrimming each other like every week. I know even right now,
just get to know coaches.
Yeah,
like get to know coaches because Coach McGee at Springfield is very well aware that I will DM him at random hours and go, "Hey, scrim," and usually it happens. Subs we usually have for subs for Valorant. We don't know.
Yeah,
Valorant hasn't been a thing.
We haven't figured that all out yet.
But I haven't put in the forum yet because I'm the guy running it. I haven't put it in there yet, but I'm going to say 2 per team because I want to have more than half the team as a sub. So team of 5 plus 2 for a sub. Valorant tournament. I released those rules in the Discord. Go check Valorant chat. Middle of yesterday, I added all the Valorant people, and I released the rule set to get feedback on it. We're running as a tournament style because just like CS:GO, they don't play weekly series. They play weekend tournaments. So we're going to run 4 weekend tournaments. You get points for placements, and then highest play or top 8 placements overall in points go to a play or a finals tournament. But for more info, DM me or find the rules on the thing.
Yeah, and for scrims, it's talk to the coaches, know the schedules. We were talking about trying to put together some sort of scrim scheduler type thing. NASEF has one. I haven't checked it out yet this year because I don't have a team to register for it yet since we aren't even in school yet. We don't start until Tuesday for our kids. So I think it's, that might be something you can use. Or we have scrim channels for all of our games in our Discord. So usually there's kids in there asking or coaches in there asking, and then you just kind of know their schedules. Like, oh, hey, we practice on Tuesdays after school, and then you kind of know who practices on Tuesdays and can set something up with them or find a team that is ranked above you and then kind of go from there. Rocket Leagues are going to be run essentially through just like the NASEF rules. I think we might have a few changes. And I have a meeting later on this week, hopefully, to talk about what we're allowed to change and what we can't change. Because we would like to change up the NASEF format a little bit, but keep most of it there. in most of the rule set, but we're just not 100% clear, and hopefully we'll iron that out before the end of the week.
How a Smash event's going to run? Great question. We'll discuss that when we get closer to the season, but it's going to be all online play, at least it's the plan right now. At Coach McGee in the Smash chat on the Discord, and he can probably give you more info.
Yeah, essentially it's going to be 2 4-week tournaments that are run about like a month or two apart. It's like right before break and then right after break, Christmas break. So it'll be winter events, and then there'll be a finals based on the top teams from those 2 tournaments. Official details will be coming later.
We'll get things out there eventually. You got to understand that we're trying to scramble to get our school year ready for us as teachers, get our teams ready, and then try to get the league ready. So, give us a bit of a second. Jawan, in our case, there's a pretty strong chance we don't have a league team because I'm not running a 4-man team.
Yeah, no, that 4-man team would not work as a regular team for league or any game for that matter. You can't enter a team unless you have enough people to play at least to the start of it, and that happens. I mean, we wanted to have teams before, and we ended up basically just not having a team for that sport because we didn't have it. Just like if some people don't have swimming or have water polo for that matter, you just don't have a water polo team that year, and hopefully they stick around and come back the next year. You find some more.
I feel really bad because I've had a player with me for all 3 years now, and her senior year we wouldn't have a team. I feel really bad about that.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It just comes in waves, like depending on when the kids and what games were popular with the younger crowd. I think there's a big, I mean, I don't know about everyone, but I believe there's a bigger wave of league fans coming because of something that happened around that time with that age bracket.
I know I have a sibling of a former player coming up, so I'm starting to manufacture my own talent.
Yeah, and you gotta, like I said, you gotta get into those middle schools and start recruiting and start letting them know, so they can start practicing as a team because they most of the time don't know esports is really a thing besides what they watch the pros do. So
because they think it only exists the pro level, when you got to do a lot of things to get to the pro level, as indicated by how Drew has made his climb.
Yeah, I'm really excited for college league to start. I'm sad it doesn't start until spring.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Especially with all the good teams in Illinois now.
You got anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I mean, just to chat quickly, just to wrap up with tryouts. Like, usually, depending on the tryouts, I usually do a prelim tryout where I, cut a lot of people and especially check their grades after, like, the first week or two of school to see how they're doing. Because a lot of times you might have a good player, but they are not eligible due to grades fairly early, and you can kind of talk to them and see if they're actually going to work at it to do it or if they just don't care. Another thing is I don't necessarily put them on teams like varsity or JV. Once I make the initial cut, I kind of let them still play for another week or two together to kind of see how they practice before I pick starters and subs and do that.
Agreed, because you have to let them shake out.
Yeah,
all my school's clubs are closed right now. You need to be officially sponsored by a teacher at your school.
Yeah. Mega says, what school are you from?
But you need to be officially sponsored by a teacher. And it has to be run by your school. We're requiring admins to be responsible. Is that Plainfield North? I don't know. Acronyms, yeah.
Yeah, Plainfield North.
Only P I can think of. Yeah, Plainfield North. You need a teacher sponsor, and we need to talk with them to see what the situation is at your school. So have a teacher reach out to us as staff.
Yeah, I think Plainfield and I think also District 211, which is Palatine and Conant and Hoffman Estates, they have canceled all clubs for now. So that's the issue that they're dealing with because they're like, they're trying to convince people, no, like, hey, we can run this club remotely. We don't need to be at school to run this club because it's not primarily needed and most kids feel more comfortable. So,
yeah. So have your sponsor reach out to us so we can figure out what it's going to look like and how we can maybe help. Do we know if IHSEA is accepting esports soon. Todd, you would know about that, wouldn't you?
I would hope so. I'm on the advisory committee for esports on IHSA. The problem is we haven't met since March, right before the pandemic, and we were about to present to the board in April to actually become an official activity for this year. But then COVID hit, and all of their board meetings went to figuring out how to handle all of their sports and activities for last year and how to set up this year. And so we have not been able to get back on the docket yet. There's hope that it will be IHSA sport activity. Well, it would be an activity, not a sport, but it would be an activity soon. But it does not look like it would be one this year. Although a bunch of us are trying to put together a group to do some informal tournaments and scrimmages and meet with other schools to do that. So not official yet, but there's a lot of schools that are not in the IHSA that are part of that committee that we're trying to do some informal stuff and get things set up, and hopefully by the time spring hits we'll actually be able to host a tournament, and then we can invite IHSA over so they can see what a finals tournament would look like for esports.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, now I get your name. I thought it was Mrs. something, but it's Mr. Sayed Niles West. Now I get it. I was like, who is this Mrs. person in chat? And you said you're Niles West, and I was like, wait a second.
Doing some quick math there.
Yes. Yeah, so if you have any other questions, we'll hang out for another 2 minutes or so. But otherwise, we want to thank you guys for being here. We'll try to keep these podcasts short. Usually under an hour is what we try for, depending on what guest we have. We're hoping to get some guests on soon. I'm trying to work on that now. So if you have any ideas for people or types of people that you'd want on, I'm trying to work on some pro players, or at least, amateur, pro-am players, possible professionals or college players and coaches. We're trying to work on getting all that. I definitely want to put together a showcase of, rotating coaches from college to get on here and talk, describe their program a little bit, and then just talk esports with them, especially all the schools in Illinois, because that's just, where most of our kids are going to end up going. I don't know the actual percentage, but it's probably pretty high to get the Illinois students going to Illinois schools. So
how are we doing for returning players? Well, first, the league thing, I have no idea. We're figuring that out. How are we doing for returning players? Are you referring to returning players to our team or what?
I mean, it's just kind of I don't know if he's asking for tryouts and things like that. Obviously, no one automatically makes the team if they're a returning player, no matter if they were on varsity the year before.
But I do, sometimes if I have a lot of students trying out for a game, I already know how my returning players play, so I need extra spots in a lobby. I'll just say, you guys set out this one.
Yeah, and so, depending on the game, we definitely, depending on how many people we have, kind of matters on what we do with returning players. I definitely have had to move people from varsity down to JV, or move them from an A team to a B team, depending on who else showed up. You might just have a freshman who's diamond level show up and you don't even know them yet because they haven't responded. So Robo was asking, Robot Pigs was asking, getting good at Rocket League. Told about something about scholarships with NASEF. NASEF does give awards out to their the top performing school, and that will be from our tournament that will then feed into their national tournament. And yes, there's a possibility for scholarships there. And then also just scholarships from colleges in general. A lot of colleges are giving scholarships. I can't talk today. Are giving scholarships to play all kinds of games and also just be part of the esports program, whether it's playing or doing media or doing video and streaming.
A lot of schools are doing more media stuff. A lot of schools are doing more media stuff.
So yeah, he definitely could get scholarships. And the people think, oh well, I'm not this level, I won't be able to get a scholarship. Some programs actually have lower tier scholarships for kids who might not be that good now, but might be able to get better. So like someone said earlier about that, being positive and willing to learn and take, willingness to improve. Who was that? That was Dancing with Balls at the very beginning. Like that is number one thing what coaches are looking for is that kind of attitude when they're looking to recruit for college. Because if you can be coached, you can actually climb a lot higher.
Yep.
So.
We're actually almost exactly 9.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, awesome.
All right, well, thanks for joining me here, Keith. Thanks everyone else for joining us tonight. Every Wednesday, 8:15, we will be live with the podcast. Try to do different topics every week, but sometimes we'll repeat it. Like next week, we might do another tryouts, depending on how some of our tryouts go and things like that. And if you have any suggestions for the podcast, just put it in the questions or comments on our Discord, or hit us up on Twitter and let us know what you would want to see on this podcast. What would be useful to students? What would be useful for coaches? We'd like to put together a bunch of videos that you guys can watch to kind of get some ideas of what to do. Other than that, Keith, thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good night. Good luck at school tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else, have a good night.